Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Extra Time, the U.S. Men's National Team Soccer Podcast. I'm Tim. The United States took down Jamaica 1-0 in the Nations League quarterfinal. We're going to break that game down, talk about the overall performance, touch base on some of the player reviews. How do we think we did? How do we think some of the players did? We know that the starting lineup looked significantly different than what we were expecting. A lot of guys sick. Some of the guys injured, even Cardoso picking up an injury really early on. So we're going to kind of break all those things down, look at it from both the United States perspective, Jamaica's perspective. This is Pochettino's first competitive game at the helm with this camp. So we're going to break down a whole lot of stuff, and then we're going to talk about what changes the United States has to make going forward for their game Monday here in St. Louis. All of that is coming up on this episode of Extra Time. So the United States beating Jamaica 1-0 in the quarterfinal of CONCACAF's Nations League. And I had posted what I thought the starting lineup was going to be. I had made my predictions. And my predictions were I didn't think anything crazy and outrageous as I laid out my starting lineup. I had Ricardo Pepi playing up front, which he did. I had Christian Pulisic and Tim Weah playing on the left and right. I must have just been completely clueless and completely mistaken because Weah did not travel with them to Jamaica. Weah will be back for the men's game home on Monday, but Weah did not travel this way, so that was just a complete blunder. Obviously, we've been playing Musa out in that role when we don't have somebody like Weah, so seeing him out here, I went with a McKinney, Musa, Buzio role in the central midfield. We didn't see that. I then went with Robinson, Ream, Richards, Scally in the back with Turner there. And then I even predicted some substitutions that I wanted to see. I was hoping to see Vasquez, which we did. Aronson, but he didn't travel because he was sick. Cardoza, he started. And so Buzio and Cardoza got flipped. Cade Cowell coming in. Not a huge Cowell fan, but I thought he deserved a spot. He didn't come in. And then Miles Robinson in the back, still recovering, still trying to get into game shape and game form. So I got the tactics all wrong. One of the things that we did see here from the United States was this 4-2-3-1, where Anthony Robinson actually acted more like a midfielder than he did a defender. And so as the United States would shift into this attacking piece, you would see Anthony Robinson push up, Ream, McKenzie, and Scally would kind of shift, and we would have this back three sort of setup with Robinson coming in and out. I know that we've had issues in the past with Christian and Robinson sort of playing the same roles. And so linearly, they both, go up the field and back down the field. And they seem to be taking up the same spaces because Robinson wants to beat his men on the left up the line. So does Christian. So yes, you can get the overlapping runs for that, but we needed a little bit more fluidity. We needed to be more dynamic. We needed to hold up more space. We needed to play more full. We're just not taking up all of the aspects of the attacking third that we potentially could be. So I know that a lot of one of the other things that obviously affects the tactics is looking at the lineup that Jamaica played. So Jamaica went in with a 5-4-1, right? Clearly looking to play the slow block, looking to pack the box, looking to attack on the counter. Okay. Stretching their guys up on the wing. And so Jamaica defensively in a 5-4-1 and offensively looking more like a 5-2-3, right? Or a 4-3-3. And being able to go, all right, now that we have the ball, we're going to push low up into the midfield. We're going to have Bailey and Gray come up into the front, and we're going to look more like what the United States looks like when they play their 4-3-3. But when we lose the ball, everybody's going to fall back. We're going to get guys behind the ball. We're going to start putting pressure in that midfield area, and we're going to sit back in that block. So if you're Pochettino and you're creating a lineup that you know is going to counteract that, you could have predicted it beforehand because this is how CONCACAF teams play against us. You would have been in a position where you would have had to say, how do we try to break this down, and how do I get this attacking place to overload? We picked the left-hand side to overload, so we're going to see Tessman and Pulisic doing this. We also saw a big stretch, right? So Cardoza and Tessman create these two triangles. So defensively, we're playing our two backs with a defender right in front of them, right? So here's our midfield. And so we have these two triangles that can play into McKinney, they can play out to the wings, or they can play through to Ricardo Pepi. I believe for the first 15 minutes of the game, up until we scored, we saw that. And then after that, it kind of was anybody's game. But we'll break that stuff down and talk about it. So from the general lineup stance, we don't have Aronson because he's sick. We don't have Balogun because he's injured. We don't have Adams because he's injured. We don't have Reyna because he's injured. I can't remember why we didn't have Weah. We had a number of players who didn't travel because they were either injured or under the weather. And so here we are. We got Ricardo Pepi getting a starting spot up front. Pulisic, the usual. Wesson McKinney, the usual. So I would say from like a general lineup stance, Cardoza was one that I wasn't expecting, and Tessman was one I wasn't expecting. Those were the two players that I just wasn't expecting to see on the field. I'm not high on those guys. I like Cardoza. I really do. I don't necessarily know enough about Tessman, but if I'm the coach and I'm putting in my starting lineup, I'm trying to get a result against Jamaica away. I'm trying to do it definitively because I don't want to come home and be fighting for points. I think to be completely honest about this game and completely respectful about this game, as far as the results go, if you're looking at this game as a Jamaican fan, it's easy to feel like you got robbed. Penalty early on. Gray misses it. Turner comes up with a fantastic save. The ball's not struck super well. It's in, like, unfortunately, all the people saying he made a great save. Turner did what he needed to do, and Gray struck that ball exactly where goalies want to see you struck it, right? Because as a goalie's going over to his right, and when you're making that leap, you're stretching out. You're just a few feet off the ground. You're looking at your arm's length above the ground so that you can still get to things that are on the ground, and then anything up higher than your hand is going to be tough. And you're covering a pretty decent amount of the net that way coming out. That ball is struck about chest height, right? Maybe a little bit higher, maybe just off his left shoulder. And so Turner just extends, pushes it out, and it's up. Well, Tim Ream, that was a handball, pretty blatantly. Moose is clearing one off the line. Now, outside of that, I don't think Jamaica has a lot of other chances. But if Jamaica converts their first penalty, and that game's 1-1, Tim Ream's handball not getting called certainly is robbing them of 3 points at home and making it very difficult for the United States to try to make a result at home, knowing Jamaica can just come in and really pack the box and play, like a 5-5. They probably still play the 5-4-1, but you get what I'm saying. I think if this performance, like with any other result, feels like a United States loss, right? And I kind of broke that down as being, a Jamaican fan. I don't think that Jamaica had enough chances that their fans would have felt they actually could have won this game, but I still feel like they would have got robbed, right? So I'm imagining if I'm watching them and I'm watching them play, how would I have felt as a fan? I would have felt frustrated. I would have felt like we lacked a lot of stuff in the final third. I would have felt like we didn't do enough with the few chances that we got. And I think objectively I could have said, you knew you weren't going to get that many chances against the United States. You have to convert them. And because it's the same thing that I'm saying for the United States men. You're not going to get that many chances. We have to convert these chances. We have to put these away. If you judge this game based on World Cup 2026 standards, yeah, this game's an embarrassment. You're not excited going forward. You're not looking, you're just not. You're not looking forward to the United States doing anything with this squad. But you have to look at the game for what it is. You have to look at the game for where we are in the cycle. Would I love to see us further ahead? Yes, I would. I would love to see us further ahead. I'm trying to just not think about the fact that Adams is still not in the lineup, could miss the 2026 World Cup, that Miles Robinson hasn't got himself back into shape, that we haven't seen Serginho Dest in a year. I'm trying not to think about those things, but this is a reality. This is where we're at. Pochettino has to make the best with the squad that he has, and he has to be developing players so that no matter what happens going forward, the United States can have the best performance. If we're going to be missing a Tyler Adams for the World Cup, we need someone else to fill that 6. If we need someone else to fill the 6 and Moose is playing out on the right, well, now that MMA that we had is gone. And we have to find players to fill that space. So we're trying out a Tessman. We're trying out a Cardosa. We're looking at I keep forgetting this dude's name. The other midfielder that I don't like, Aiden Morris. Right? Aiden Morris was the other player who was out injured or sick and couldn't. No, he's injured, and he's not going to see either one of these and couldn't travel. Right? You're trying out a Malik Tillman. Right? You're trying out an Austin Trusty. You're Zendejas. You're looking at these players to go, I have to make best with what I have, and I have to expect that there's a possibility that some of these players don't make it back, and even if they do make it back, they don't have the match fitness to be able to compete, and so I still need to find starters to take them over. So if you're looking at this as a Nations League CONCACAF game on the road with probably a B-plus team, you got a 1-0 result against Jamaica when I would have put my money on it. I kind of did that this game could have been a draw or even a loss. It's not a great field. Obviously not an excuse, but it's not a great field. It's an away match in CONCACAF. The refereeing was very questionable again. You're walking away with a 1-0 result, and nobody got hurt, and nobody got sent off. Is it what you want to see in the World Cup? No. But we're not in the World Cup. We still got a couple years. We still have time to figure it out. So overall, from a performance stance, the result is good. What we had to watch was not. I was really excited. I was hoping the United States was going to play the way they did in those first 15 minutes because that's what I wanted to see. Man, we came out flying. We came out absolutely flying in that game, right? So that brings me to wanting to talk about this next piece, which is tactics, okay? You could see the way that we were set up to play. We were trying out things through the midfield. We're still building out of the back. Okay. We like I said earlier, we had these 2 back triangles to be able to get the ability to, as we build out in the back, and you kind of play the ball towards the center of the field on either side, right? You're building up out of the right. The ball kind of goes into like the center right, and you get to decide. Am I going into the center of the field to McKinney, and he decides? Am I going out to Musa, and he decides? Can I play Pepi through? And what we saw when Christian dropped into that space, he took the ball in the half turn, just release Pepi. And that goal looked so easy. Pulisic is wide open. He makes his turn. Pepi's just signaling for this run. It's such an easy ball, and it's a great finish. Yes, he stuffs the ball into the ground. It doesn't matter. It's a great finish for Ricardo Pepi. And like I said in the last episode, he is solidifying himself as our starting striker. The eye test is different. I don't care. Yes, Balogun might have a more dynamic set of skills. Yes, Balogun might be a more physical player. Yes, but all of that aside, if you're looking at a team who's going to perform in the World Cup and you're looking at results, you don't win games by looking good. You win games by scoring goals, okay? And this is coming from me. I'm the player who I loved watching us look good. I got that Premier League mentality. I could have cared less about some of our results because I just loved watching the men play so fluid and so fun. We have to be realistic. We have to be open-minded. We have to understand there's reality, and reality says you have to score goals. Ricardo Pepi is scoring goals. He's now the 4th player, the 4th fastest player, or the 4th period. Can't remember. Well, if he's the 4th period, he's also the 4th fastest. Under 22 years of age, to score 12 goals. Landon Donovan and Josie Altidore are the others, along with Christian Pulisic. The generations are changing. We're getting players more opportunities. Okay? And unlike Altidore and Donovan, Pepi's had to compete with a lot of other players, right? When Josie Altidore came out of the scene, we don't have a lot of other strikers that are coming in to do this. Landon Donovan was like our first super kid. Same with Christian. They were going to get the playing time. Ricardo Pepi's been all over the place. He's normally coming in as a sub. He hadn't solidified himself as a starter. He's played in a lot of weird games, and yet he's getting the results. And he's getting more of the results recently. He's getting a lot more of those goals, a lot more consistently, more recently. So I'm loving that we're seeing him develop as a player, and I'm loving that we're seeing him develop from a results standpoint. So tactics look good going forward. I thought defensively we had really found our shape, and we understood what we were doing. But again, here's where the problem comes. And if you've been following me, you know that I've said this before. As soon as something happens, we are lost. and I stand by this statement, and this game is evidence of that. The United States men are so good until something happens, and that something could be literally anything. Guy gets sent off with a red card, we score a goal, the other team scores a goal, a player gets hurt. As soon as a major game event happens, we just forget what we were supposed to do. So you saw us playing, it's not a dominating control, but like we're very comfortable. We're going forward. We're being very direct, right? We're not wasting our time. Once we get into the final third, the ball's getting whipped in, we're getting chances, and you're excited, right? The first 10 minutes of the game felt like 30 minutes. It was just, we were just all over the place. I was excited. I'm fired up watching this game. We score this goal very quickly in those first 5 minutes, and you're just thinking like, absolutely, this is going to be the game that I wanted to see, right? We're finally going to be those guys. We're going to step up. We're going to go into Jamaica. We're going to thump them 4-5-0. We're going to be able to make some fun substitutions, and this is just going to be a great game. And what happens? We score the goal, and then we just forget what we're doing. Jamaica comes on the counterattack. All of a sudden, Jamaica's got a lot of momentum because they have to change their tactics. They now got to switch. They have to start playing more guys up front. They can't settle into this 5-4-1. They can't play as much on the counter. They got to press. You're seeing more of that, 5-2-3 or 4-3-3, right, as they're pushing guys up the field. And then bad giveaway in the middle of the field. Ream looks silly. McKenzie looks silly. And then Turner gets beat. And all of a sudden, it's like a penalty, and you're throwing your hands up as a USA fan going, what in the world? Now I'm not frustrated thinking if Jamaica gets this, that we're not still going to win this game. Because Jamaica very well could have just dropped back into that thing, and then we do what we're doing, and we get more chances, and we score. But it's just so confusing to me. Like, why can't we just continue to play the same tactics all the time? Why do we feel like we don't know what happened? Like, all of a sudden, the game script changes, and everybody goes, like, everybody's on a different wavelength. But they're still smiling, giving each other a thumbs up, going, yeah, I know what we're doing. But you don't, because nobody's doing the right thing. We're all lost and all over the place. So Turner makes a great save, keeps us in it. Get out of the first half. It's kind of okay. And then you go into the second half, and man, did we just hold on for dear life. Now, again, I don't really feel like Jamaica had a ton of scoring opportunities. They had that one corner kick. That was wild. Turner clearing what was close to off the line, which could have been an Olympico. Ream with a handball that should have got called, especially with a game that had VAR in it. I really don't understand how we're not seeing that get called. And then Musa clearing one off the line. Other than that, there's not a whole lot that Jamaica's doing to us. And there's really kind of nothing, there was no really solid performance on either side. When I was texting, Chris and Ryan, and I was talking about it, I said a bunch of times that this game was just awful. But what were the words that I used to describe it? Was it really towards the end that I said this? I said sloppy, and the ref was awful. But it felt like I said things like disgusting, frustrating, uneventful. Maybe I said it to my dad. I did. I said flat, uninspiring, and disappointing. Right? And I want to focus more on that uninspiring. I really feel like that word summarizes the way that we feel. Because it says a lot of stuff. It doesn't say you didn't win. It doesn't say you didn't get the result. But from a fan's perspective, you leave the game going we won, but I wouldn't pay to watch that again. Right? You're not walking out of the stadium holding this crest up going, you guys better watch out on home soil, man. US is coming for you. We're bringing home the cup. No. So you come out great, and then you do. Then you fall flat. It just feels uninspiring. And then at the end, it just disappointed. And it's unfortunate, and maybe our expectations are too high. It's tough being a fan and getting a win and wanting more, right? It is. And for the Jamaica fans who, probably were expecting to walk out there with a point, and now we're sitting here going, well, it's been a nice run because now we got to go play in St. Louis, and we got to go play in the States, and they're going to have some of their better guys back, and, but we know Jamaica's going to come out swinging. We know that they have a lot of talent. I was kind of confused as to, Demarai Gray has really slipped a little bit. I thought Bailey played fine. The commentators were really all up on Nicholson, but I wasn't really like super impressed, and obviously, we saw him having to get subbed out too. But in a game where you score super early, because here's something that I think is important that we talk about and is important that we mention before we just, like I'm doing, continue to just crap all over us. The goal of the game is to win. In the 5th minute, you've accomplished that. You've done everything you have to do, and if you literally do nothing else, you will win. And that's tough for players. And that's tough for coaches from a tactic stance. Because now you have to think, do we go after the second goal and stretch and risk conceding? And now Jamaica's packing the box, and all of a sudden we've just thrown away 3 points. And that's what the media is going to do, including myself. We're going to criticize you for it. Because why are we going for one when we could just do it? I mean, maybe I wouldn't have gone that hard. But you're going to hear it, right? Why are we stretching for one? Why are we making these offensive changes? Why are we going for it, making these silly decisions? But then the other half of it is, you're really going to play defense for 85 minutes? And think that a Jamaican squad that plays on the counterattack isn't going to get something? Because in games that are that tight, what you looked like doesn't win the game. The possession arrow doesn't win the game. Jamaica had one opportunity. We made one mistake. And that could have been it. We're fortunate Turner gets this save. And we're fortunate that VAR doesn't see Ream's handball. Which, again, is crazy to me because it's very obvious. It's a very obvious handball. Every single player on the pitch appealed for it. But, I mean, I would just chalk that up to, if I'm upset about how the refereeing went, I can only imagine how upset Jamaican fans are. Because I thought the refereeing was just awful again. I thought the first half was poor, but, manageable. And then in the second half, the game just got out of control. And even Chris at one point said, this game's getting ugly. And I was like, yeah, it is. The game is just getting out of control. And I'm trying to think of when he said that. This game is getting dumb. He said it at 9:20. So we were a little ways into the second half, maybe about halfway through the second half. And he was right. The game is just getting stupid. And the referee's losing control of it. And you got players that are going to kick, and some of the stuff is, you can tell is just outrageous, right? So Christian gets fouled any number of times and he gets taken down behind the play. And he gets, the guy steps on his hand, kicks him in the back of the head, whatever it is. But there's no reason for you to get up and then walk all the way across the field and get in that dude's face, right? That's what Robinson should have been doing, and he did, right? Those are the kind of things that we have to see. I watched a video that U.S. Soccer released that was on Pochettino's first camp and, in the Mexico game and stuff. And in their huddle, you can go watch it, Turner puts his hand on Christian Pulisic and says, we got to stick up for this dude. Because they're going to foul him and they're going to try to hurt him. And, we got to come to his aid. We got to come to his rescue. And we need to see more of that. And I think we did from, somebody like Robinson. I think a lot of the other players were just I just don't want to get involved. And I get it. That stuff is tough. But when we talk about tactics, all of those things are going into it. Okay? We weren't expecting to get this goal super early. But you have to make a decision in that moment. Okay? You've now caught Jamaica off guard. They're reeling. Just hit him in the throat again. Go get another one. That's a tactic. We didn't play that tactic. We played we did it. Now let's hesitate. Let's be careful. Let's try to possess the ball. And if we can release Pepi and Pulisic again, if we can release Musa again, let's go for it. But that left us with long stretches of the game where players didn't see the ball. And I said this when I was talking to my dad on the phone. I'm going to say this now. If you're playing in high-level games where Tanner Tessman is seeing most of your possession, you're going to have a bad time. That is not a shot at Tanner Tessman. When you're playing high-level games, the best players on the field need to see the ball. They're your best players for a reason. Christian Pulisic didn't get a chance to dictate play. Yunus Musa didn't get a chance to dictate play. Ricardo Pepi wasn't involved as much as he should have been. You heard Tanner Tessman's name a million times, right? I thought he played a good game. I'm not criticizing Tanner Tessman. I thought he was fine. I thought he flopped a little bit too much. I thought he could have been a little bit more physical. I thought he was a little too hesitant. But he was fine. That's not going to get you the wins that you're looking for. And as fans, we need to be expecting more. I'm hoping Pochettino makes some tactics changes because we need more. You cannot have guys like Tessman, like McKennie, who are getting the ball, and you go watch the film again, go watch the game again, because it happened way too many times to be proud of, where we're coming out of the back. We're being very direct. We have all the momentum. We're attacking up the field, and we get the ball, and you're on this half turn, and you're ready to jump out of your seat and say, here we are on the counterattack. We got numbers. This is odd man rush. And we just play the ball back, and all the air comes out of the room, and you sit back down on your couch, and you feel uninspired again. Just go for it. Like, what are we doing? You have the talent. You have the numbers. It's an odd man rush. Like, you got him, right? You got Jamaica on the run. You got to make something of it. So, as far as player reviews and stuff go, you know, I heard a bunch of people say, oh, who's the player of the match and who's this and that. I mean, it's tough to sit here and say that player of the match is not Ricardo Pepi. I mean, he scored the goal on the one opportunity he had, maybe one of two opportunities that he had. You make the argument for Matt Turner because he made that save. You know, he didn't do anything crazy with his feet. He didn't do any of that stuff, right? That's all great. I think, like, overall, we need to see more from Robinson, right? I know Robinson's come a long way. I know everybody loves Jedi, and we're all hyped up on it. Like, dude, you got a breakaway, and you blundered it. Like, it's that stuff. That kind of stuff drives me crazy. And I was listening to Charlie Davies earlier, and Charlie Davies said, you know, he made this argument that some of the players that we have, you know, we shouldn't be too frustrated that they're not getting the results because they're getting themselves into the right position, and eventually it's going to come for them. I'm pushing back against that. That has been the entire mentality for the U.S. men's team. We're like the eventually team. We just keep going, well, we have the talent, eventually we'll get there, right? And I'm guilty of this. I'll be the first person to admit that's been my mentality. Eventually we'll get there. But the one area that I have pushed back against is that eventually cannot apply to goal-scoring opportunities. We need players on the field who are going to score those really simple, easy goals. Pulisic has missed bunnies. Robinson has missed bunnies. Ferreira was missing bunnies. Pepi's missed bunnies. McKinney's missed bunnies. Weah's missed bunnies. Balogun has missed bunnies. We cannot be the eventually team anymore. And if we're going to continue to play as a team where we're thinking eventually it's going to drop for us, then we're all going to be sad when we get to the 2026 World Cup and we get the chances and they don't drop for us and we think, well, eventually. Because right now, thinking about our players, here's my controversial take of the day. The United States will not have a better midfield than we did with Musa, McKennie, and Adams. That's my fear. Because it doesn't look like it. I'm worried that those days are over and that USA missed its peak. That we had a bunch of players that were playing gung-ho with their, hearts on their sleeves and going for it. And we've come off of that. Now, I'd love to see us build ourselves back up. I believe that we can, but there's my hot take. Unfortunate to see Cardoza get injured. I would have liked to see more from Musa. I don't think we did a good job getting Musa involved. I don't like Musa out on the right. I enjoy seeing Musa in a more central role. I don't like seeing him in a more defensive role. I like seeing him being able to attack. I want to see more chemistry with him and Pulisic. I think putting McKennie in more of a defensive midfield position, having Musa play centrally, and putting somebody else on the right would have been more beneficial. But again, I understand we had a lot of players who were hurt and injured. Mark McKenzie was fine, given all things considered. I thought Ream was poor, all things considered, because I have a greater expectation for Ream. I thought Joe Scally did fine. I thought Anthony Robinson was good. I know that my only criticisms of him was that he didn't score and didn't do more offensively. But I thought defensively he was fine. I thought he got his head in the game when he needed to. He came to the aid of players when he needed to. He was hot-headed, but didn't draw cards. And, I know that he got a yellow card for his foul for dragging somebody down. I don't think he needed to do that because, and McKinney didn't either because there's players right there. But coming to the aid of your teammates is what we need to see. I don't really feel like we saw enough of Trusty to have any idea. I don't feel like we saw enough of Zendejas to have any idea. Brandon Vasquez obviously, had an opportunity, didn't really do much with it, didn't really get on frame, much of a scoring chance. You got to give criticism to strikers in those situations, even if it feels bad because it's his only one, because, dude, you're the striker, and that's what happens, and that's what you do. and you're not going to get that many opportunities. And because you're not going to get that many opportunities, you have to make with them what they are, and that's that's the reality. I just don't like Tillman. I'm not going to like Tillman. You're not going to get me to like Tillman. Tillman could score a hat trick in the next 3 games. I probably won't care. I don't know. So it's tough for me to like have some opinions of a lot of these guys. I like who I like, and I don't like who I don't like. And I was kind of hoping to see a couple other players coming off, but again, we got a ton of injuries, so I get that that's sort of how it goes. Going forward, United States is going to be playing Monday against Jamaica in St. Louis. We're going to have Weah back. We might have Aronson, although he's coming off flu-like symptoms, so probably just as a sub. I'm not expecting to see Cardoza. I'm not expecting to see Trusty. I would like to see Buzio start in the midfield. I can imagine that he will. I would like to see, I would like to see Musa in the midfield. I would like to see like a Buzio, Musa, McKinney midfield with Weah out on the right. I think Pepi has solidified his spot to start. I think the only reason you don't start Pepi is because you want to see what Vasquez can do. I think that would be silly. So I would start Pepi going forward. I would even put Musa over on the left with Pulisic to see if we can get some chemistry there. See what we can do with Robinson. I wouldn't mind seeing Chris Richards playing in the midfield. I really would. There's a lot of people who are pushing back against that, which is weird to me because we thought he was fine as a center back. Again, not great, but we thought he was fine and capable. He obviously still has to grow and still has some flaws. He's playing for a Crystal Palace side. He's getting the experience, right? Why not? He was playing central defensive midfield. Why not? We're looking for a central defensive midfielder. We don't have Adams. We don't want to play Musa there. Like, let Musa go up and let him play up, right? We have to let these players play to their strengths and figure out where they're going to be in the midfield, because all we saw from a tactic stance was just confusion of players playing, below one another or above one another, and they just looked confused as to where they were supposed to be. And that's not going to work out for us going forward. So those are some of the changes that I would like to see. I think that in the center back position, I think you could probably see like McKenzie and Trusty play, and you could rest Ream, or you could play Ream alongside Trusty. I think all of those things would be fine. If you want to bring in Diego Cochin, you could probably bring him on as a sub to see. I'd like to see if we go up 2-0, I'd like to see Cade Cowell get in and get some playing time. Right? I'd like to see Shelton come in and get some playing time. I don't think any of those things are going to happen. I mean, maybe the Cowell one seems to make more sense if we're getting in there, but those are all the things. Those are all the things that I'm thinking of, and going forward. So that's going to do it for this episode. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Let me know how you feel in the comment section. We'd love to know how you're feeling. Give us a like, give us a subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of stuff. We really appreciate it. We are going to get ready for the United States playing Jamaica on Monday in St. Louis. It's the second leg of the Nations League quarterfinals. We'll see if we can get ourselves into a semifinal again with another B squad. We'll be back on Wednesday to break that game down, or on Tuesday to break that game down for you. So don't miss it. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys next time.